But let's get into today's topic, and we're talking defensive tackles. I hit you up and I said, hey man, we've been on the same page lately. I'm talking DTs today. You
Yep.
just dropped your DT article, looking at the outlook, and I'm like, bam, perfect timing. Let's get Pat's
Yep.
thoughts
Yep.
on this defensive tackle room, and that's kind of where I want to start. Where it stands currently right now, you can review it as well because there's a couple guys that are not obviously under contract, but just kind of your overall thoughts on the room in 2023 and the outlook on some of the players that aren't under contract.
I mean, I think the defensive tackle room is in trouble as we have this conversation because as we have this conversation, you don't have a big body nose tackle under contract because Jonathan Hankins is set to hit free agency if a deal isn't agreed to before he does. Same goes for Neville Gallimore, who is less valuable than Hankins is, however, still a quality rotational piece. He's hitting free agency if a deal isn't done. So really, when you look at it, I mean, Chauncey Golston, promising young talent, but going into a contract year, and he hasn't had his breakout season yet. With the jury is out on what Maji Smith is going to look like in 2024 under Mike Zimmer. Are you going to take him to Golden Corral and just give him Jerry's credit card and tell him to get that weight back up, or as our guy Box likes to say, give him the peanut butter, right? Is he going to be a 3? Is he going to be a 1 as far as his technique is concerned? We don't know. So. The only thing that you can look at, you can point at in the defensive tackles room and say, that dude is a him, and we know we got him, and we're solid on him, is Osa. It's Osa Odighizuwa. That's the only one. But then even still, I mean, Osa's going into a contract year as well. So however you look at it, the defensive tackle room for the Cowboys is in almost as poor shape as the linebacker room. The only difference is that there are actually defensive tackles that are still in the building until they, potentially leave in free agency. Whereas the linebacker room, you got 2 actual linebackers. One is Buddy Johnson. Sorry, you're in trouble there. But defensive, sorry, buddy. No shade at all. But it is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. But from a defensive tackle standpoint, I mean, you're almost as bad. You're almost as in such a bad spot as the linebacker room.
And for me, Pat, this has been an ongoing thing for better part of a decade or so. I've said this a lot here over the years. I think the Cowboys have not had a consistent force at the position. There's no disrespect to the David Irvings and the Osas of the world because I think Osa's trajectory is great. He's continuing to ascend, but he's not quite the force that Jay Ratliff was at a consistent basis. And we haven't had that yet, since Jay left. And at first it was under Rob Marinelli. He didn't care about really the quality of the player or the size of the player. He just was like, just give me orphans and I'll make it work. And then Dan Quinn gets here and Dan's like, you know what? We need to emphasize size. So he started to put his DNA, on the defensive tackle position. Mike Zimmer is now here. And you look at Mike's history, he has a specific type. Where do you see Zimmer making an imprint on this front?
As you know as well as I do, Zimmer's defenses feature 2 things typically: outstanding linebacker play and big boys up front. So I fully expect that in the Mike Zimmer administration, we'll see how long it lasts, 1 year, 2 years, depends on the McCarthy equation and all of that. But in the Zimmer administration to come, I fully see him looking at the situation and saying we need more beef up front. Like, absolutely. Now, does that mean that it's by way of Jonathan Hankins? I'm a huge fan of re-signing Jonathan Hankins, absolutely. But there are also bigger names and more impactful names to be had as well. So if we're talking about going all in, right, this is where I start calling the Cowboys bluff, for lack of a better way to put it. I did it in the wide receivers piece of the open market section, and I'm doing it again at the defensive tackles piece because you could re-sign Jonathan Hankins, and that would be a quality re-signing. He would absolutely help you. You saw what the run defense looked like without him before he came, and you saw what it looked like with him. So, huge fan of Jonathan Hankins. However, is Jonathan Hankins Chris Jones?
No.
Is Jonathan Hankins,
Wilkins?
Say Leonard Williams?
Leonard Williams?
Yeah, Williams? No. So, again, this is not to knock Hankins at all. Again, big fan of Hankins. And he's a quality piece that you would like to keep around. But that being said, if you want to go balls to the wall, it's a guy like Chris Jones. it's a guy like Christian Wilkins. And you mentioned Grover Stewart. It's a guy like Grover Stewart, right?
Yeah.
So even if it's a combination of you keep Hankins on a 1-year deal and still go balls to the wall on a guy like Jones. And, I mean, just imagine this. Think about this for a second, Steele. Think about this and contain your excitement if you can. Think about if the Cowboys added Chris Jones to this formula that has Micah and Tank on the bookends with Hankins in rotation.
Whew.
And that's even before we talk about the linebackers. But just where are you running the ball?
Yeah.
And not just that, when do you have time to pass the ball?
There you go.
Because we know what Chris Jones can do from the interior as a pass rusher. And then the beauty of Chris Jones is he can do it at the edge as well when you want to go switch up to a 3-man front, time and again. So I say all that to say you have plenty of options, which we'll talk about in a second. But under the Zimmer administration, I think he picks up where Dan Quinn left off in convincing the Cowboys that, hey, you got to have big boys on the defensive interior, which is something that didn't exist before Quinn. But I do think Zimmer takes it to another level.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the bigger names, and rightfully so. Kind of left out Matabuke there, who's probably going to get some bread. You said Leonard Williams.
Yeah, Matabuke. Who we got? Matabuke, DJ Reader.
Yeah,
I mean, there are names out there, dude.
There are names out there, but we also have to be aware of who's paying these.
Here comes the money.
Yeah.
Here we go. Money talk. Here comes the money.
I'm just saying, Steve. Steven doesn't like to pay these guys, but let's just talk about some free agent names to watch for you. We can go as far as Chris Jones if you want, or we can kind of what names are realistic for you.
Well, first of all, kudos on using the Shane O'Mac music. so there's that.
I knew you'd like that one.
Yeah, love it. Absolutely. So let's use it as a segue. Let's talk about this elimination chamber of candidates for the Cowboys.
See, y'all
right?
know that was
so.
Dope right there.
Yeah, hey, bars. But if you start with Chris, you have to start with Chris Jones, right? So you have to start with Chris Jones, and he's an incomparable talent, future Hall of Famer, still very much in his prime. I don't want to hear a damn thing about his age. This dude is it. He is him times him times him. You get Chris Jones, okay, now I believe you. You're all in. Not just that, your defensive line is just now it's monstrous. It's going from, okay, it can be solid to holy crap. Problem is, and this is where you insert a Ted DiBiase quote, everybody has a price.
Yep.
Right? And Chris Jones's price. You talk about Grover Stewart's price. Chris Jones's price. You're either going to pay it or you're not getting him, and it's not going to be cheap. So that's where you start to go to other options who won't be cheap but to be less expensive but still quality. So guys I mentioned like Christian Wilkins. He would be less expensive, and he's younger. He's 28 years old, so you'll get more life out of him as far as the length of the deal. Probably not going to you might get Chris Jones on like a 4-year, which I would be fine with even with his age, considering how he's playing. But more realistically speaking, if you're going to give out a 4 or 5-year deal, you prefer it to be like a 28, 27, 26-year-old. So then that brings me to like Christian Wilkins. He's doing great things down there for the Dolphins, coming off of a career season, 9 sacks last year, forced fumble, 2 fumble recoveries. A name that the Cowboys and Cowboys fans know well, and Leonard Williams from his time spent with the New York Giants. Would love to have, Leonard Williams in the middle of the Cowboys defensive line. That's another one. You talk about Matabuke. I think that he's one that, for whatever reason, people are not talking about. And I don't know if it's because they're scared to try to pronounce his last name. But I feel like if you can get past Igbenogany, you can get past Matabuke, okay? But yeah, he's done phenomenal things up there in Baltimore, and they've also made it easy for him because when you have Roquan and Patrick with a C behind you doing those all-pro things, it makes it easier for your defensive line. But okay, so then you look at the Cowboys and say, hey, get him some linebackers to help him excel like he did in Baltimore. So that's another name. DJ Reader. I'm kind of, like I mentioned in the article, I'm kind of 50-50 on Reader. He's definitely quality. I think he deserves to be on the list. But there are a couple of things that worry me about him, injury being the main thing. And the last thing the Cowboys need is an availability issue. But when Reader is healthy, absolute animal.
Yeah.
100%. But the problem is we saw what happened when the Cowboys went down. I mean, they showed some resiliency, but at the same time, they cannot afford to lose more key guys going forward, especially in a year like 2024. So you need a guy that's going to be durable as much as he is impactful. But Reeder still belongs on the list. And then I have honorable mentions. Go ahead.
Can I sell you on his teammate real quick before we get to the rest of the free agents? Can I sell you on his teammate B.J. Hill as a potential trade guy? Because B.J. Hill, him and Reeder, when they played together, were pretty good.
You can, but here's the problem. I can't talk trade.
That's, you know what? Pretend I ain't saying none of that. What? Trade? We talking about?
Yeah.
A trade?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Trade
You a plumber?
So
anyway, go ahead.
Jake. but just for clarity for those that are listening out there, and thanks for tapping into the scientific method, just so you know, because I am tagged by the team, right? I can only speak about expiring contracts. I can't speak about trade options because that can be viewed as tampering by the opposite team. And I don't want to be the reason the Cowboys lose draft picks. So, no,
Can you imagine?
we're not going to talk about trade targets. But let me just say, I smell what the bloodline is cooking, and I don't disagree with his teammates.
Fair enough. We're just going to leave it at that, Pat, because I'll be dead if I get a call from Pat talking about, hey, you better pull up, Sky, because now nah, we cool.
I do not want to be a headline on Twitter, no seed, the reason the Cowboys lost, 3 comp picks or some weird shit like that, so no. But I got other names as well. I mean, if you want to go veteran that's comparable to Jonathan Hankins that could be seen as a slight upgrade, but age-wise, he's still there. Calais Campbell's still playing at a high level. If you want to come back to the younger side, Javon Kinlaw, he's right there. He's a little bit inconsistent, though, but Tier Tart, that's a name that pops out to me as well. You mentioned Grover Stewart, great name there. Sheldon Rankins, I still think Sheldon Rankins has some good value. Shelby Harris, he had an up and down young career right now, but I feel like under the right tutelage, i.e. Mike Zimmer, he can prosper really. And then if you really just want to go full petty, you look at Fletcher Cox and you say, what do you got, dude? Like one more year, you're still playing at a high level. Come do the Jason Peters thing. Right? So, I mean, my point is what did we just rattle off? Like close to 10, and I didn't even name all of them that's in the article. Yeah, there is no reason the Cowboys should not be or find themselves in position to grab 1 or 2 of these impactful defensive tackles to drop in between Tank and Micah and really start to prosper. So there's tiers to this, there's levels to this. So Chris Jones, tier 1, and then tier 2, guys like Christian Wilkins and DJ Reeder, Leonard Williams, Matabuke. If you come out of free agency with none of these names, you're not all in, and you won't be able to convince me that you are.
Listen, man, and I said this before, if you don't come out of this free agency with at least one of a defensive tackle and linebacker, then you might as well look at this as not a rebuilding year, but we just throwing in a towel type of year because you're not serious to me. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And speaking of linebackers, that's coming.
Perfect.
That's actually that is next. So
man, see, come on, talk about the segue, man. Oh, last thing, before I let you go, because I know you got a busy day ahead. You waking up at 3:00 in the morning tomorrow for Elimination Chamber?
Fact.
What is that?
Listen,
Come on, man.
I am so furious at them for making me make this decision, but I tell you what, and I know there are people out there saying, oh, well, no, see, just watch the replay. That don't hit the same.
Nah.
I don't want to wake up to spoilers because y'all don't know how to not put spoilers online. You can't keep things to yourself, and I don't know why. So I'm not going to let you ruin my day.
Nope.
So what I'm probably going to do, I have an alarm set just in case I fall asleep, but truth be told, I'm probably going to just try to stay up, and I'm going to get some Call of Duty in. So if anybody want to tap in with me on the Call of Duty, my PSN tag is the same as my Twitter handle, @VoiceOfTheStar. And if you want my specific Activision hashtag and whatnot, just send me a notification, reply to me, mention me on Twitter, and I'll screenshot it to you. So either way, I'm going to be up with those Australians watching me some Elimination Chamber.
Facts.
So, facts.
I'll probably be hitting you up then because ain't nobody else going to be up. So I'll probably be hitting you up when we're watching this thing.
Oh yeah, you'll be up too.
Yeah.
And I'll be live.
100%.
Anybody who has my notifications on, I'm gonna wait and doesn't watch wrestling. They're gonna wake up in the morning and hate me because I'm gonna get this.
Come on,
in.
chill, bro.
I'm gonna get this in. You might want to turn those notifications off tonight and turn them back on like tomorrow around noon. If you don't like wrestling, if you love wrestling, keep them on. Let's talk.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk.
Oh yeah. All right, man. That's Patrik No C Walker of DallasCowboys.com. Appreciate you as always, bro. And you have a fantastic weekend, brother.
Yes, sir. Talk to you next Friday.
Hey, he said it, not me. He said it, not me.
I said it.
Holding you to it.
I said it, man.
Appreciate you, bro.
All right, bro.